I want to talk about today is things that you shouldn't say during interviews. I know sometimes when you get into an interview, it can be kind of chaotic. People freeze up. People get scared. They just numb up. So I want to help everyone or talk to everyone about being more relaxed, being more comfortable. You have to do some research on the company. You have to ensure that the job description that you're applying for, you have the key attributes and you have the key experiences that they're looking for. Once you get there and you've done all your resume, you've done all your follow-up, there's some key things you don't want to say when you get in the door that literally will put your foot right in your mouth. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to focus on getting the job. So look, let's get started. Let's go through a few things. Number one, probably one of the biggest things that you shouldn't do is talk negatively about your last employer. Don't say the boss was a jerk. Don't say that the people there weren't friendly. Don't say that the company's going in the wrong direction. Keep it positive, keep it light. If they ask you, why are you leaving? Kind of say, look, you've reached your boundaries with that company. You wanted to do something new. You wanted a fresh start. You wanted to try something else, but never ever say anything negative. That's just a no start. So please don't do that, because you will get some negative feedback, or maybe you won't get any feedback at all. They just will scratch you off the list as being someone who's a negative Nancy. Okay. Number two, don't ever say I'll do anything to get this job, because that shows a weakness. It shows that you'll just get this job. Maybe you're in a financial bind, but you won't stay there long term. So they're looking for people. Most employers are looking for someone that's going to be there for 3 to 5 years. They're going to invest in training. They're going to invest in resources for you. And they don't have time to put somebody into a job, and then within the next 6 months, 1 year, they bounce to go to another job. So please don't say you'll do anything to get this job. It comes across very, very negative. I know you may want to say it because it feels like, and maybe that's what you're thinking inside your heart, I'll do anything to get this job. However, it comes across in a negative position. So don't put yourself in that position. Number three, when they ask you the question to tell us about yourself, don't just verbatim go through your CV. Find things to talk about that is not in your CV. So embellish your CV. You might say, on job number A, B, and C, I did, as you can read on the resume, I did A, B, and C, but expand on it. Give them some more information. Give them some insights to the real you. Don't just talk about what's on the paper, because they could read. They've already gone through it. That's why you're in that position now. That's why you're going through the interview, because they've gone through your CV. They've read it. They've looked at it. Now they want to know more about you. So don't just go back and just reread what's on your CV. Have a story. Have something compelling to talk about. Think about that before you get there. Be ready to show the real you. Open the doors up and be able to expand your background, your capabilities, your sports, a little bit about family, but don't ramble on, talk about anything and everything. Keep it focused, all right? If they ask you something specifically about a project or a piece of software, or if you ever did a leadership role in a certain project, never say, I don't know anything about that, or no, I've never done that. You don't want to say that. What you want to say is, look, I haven't done anything specifically like that. However, I have experience with this, I've done that, I've taken on this leadership role. You want to say something. You just don't want to stop the conversation cold, dead in its tracks, and say, no, I don't know anything about that. You need to be able to spin, and I'm not saying lie, but I'm saying spin it. No, I've never done this, but I've done that. You have to be able to be quick on your feet, be ready to be able to respond effectively with an alternative solution, with alternative action that you've done. Another one that you should do is say, what do you do in this company? Never ask what the company does, because you need to understand that before you're going into it. Don't say, what do you do? What type of products? Where you located? You want to have a good idea. You need to go on LinkedIn. You need to go to their website. You need to go to anywhere you can go to find out information about this company. You want to know who the CEO is. You want to know what their method statements are, or their core values. You want to understand why they feel on safety. You want to look and see if they have any press releases that's been out there. Educate yourself as much as you can before you go into that meeting. Know as much as you can about the company. Based on what you've learned, you want to take that information and construct 4 or 5 detailed questions about your role and how it impacts the overall company. Questions like, what's your expectations for the first 90 days? Questions like, what's the climate? What's the working environment? You can ask insightful questions without being rude or being obnoxious. You just need to be able to wait for the right moment. Make sure you have your questions ready to go and then shoot. Next one, if they ask you, why did you leave your last company? It's a tricky question, right? Very tricky question. Again, back to the first one I spoke about earlier. You don't want to say, I hate those guys. Those guys were a pain in the neck. The CEO doesn't know what they're doing. The leadership is horrible. You don't want to say anything negative. You want to spin it. You want to be able to say, hey, look, I ran out of growth in that role. I was at the ceiling. I'm looking for new challenges. I'm trying to branch out a little bit. I want to try something completely different. Just never say anything negative. I say it over and over again. Don't say anything negative about your last company. And they could be really, really negative or toxic environment there. Don't say it because it's just going to hurt you. You can talk about that with your friends, your family, the guys you golf with, but you don't want to talk about that during an interview. Next one, never ramble on. You don't want to talk for 15 minutes. And you don't want to talk for 30 seconds either, right? You want to listen to the question, understand it, and if you have to, answer the question back to the person who asked you the question and say, just to make sure you understood the question properly. And if you don't have an answer at that moment, hey, let me think about that. And you write it down on a piece of paper and say, you mind if we come back to that question? 9 times out of 10, the person giving the interview will say, no problem. And they'll go to the next question. And then you come back to it. But don't just ramble on. Don't start talking about the football or boxing or your family or your kids or anything that's not relevant to the questions being asked. Don't ramble on. Add as much information that you need to make sure you've gotten your point across, but not enough where you're just in this revolving circle of just going through stuff that, they really don't want to hear. They really think, everybody's happy and be glad to hear about your family and you had a hole in one or you went hunting and blah, blah, blah. Nobody really cares though. Answer the question and then pause. Okay? Next one. Don't ask about what's the next promotional opportunity. Don't ask about how you're going to get a raise and when you're going to get promoted and blah, blah, blah. Don't ask those questions. Get the job first. Get in there and let them see how valuable you are. Then you can start looking at the next move 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line. But don't get in there. Don't go into an interview thinking, hey, I want this job, but in 3 months I can get this job, and in 6 months I can get that job. That's just crazy. Don't ask questions like that. Talk about career. Talk about training. Talk about growth, potential growth. Don't talk about the next role. Just open it up and say, hey, look, what's the tenure for people in this company? What's the training opportunities? What's the career opportunities? Now, I'm going to give you a couple other pointers before you go into an interview, right? To make sure that you're as successful as possible. Number one, prepare yourself. Look at your clothes that you're going to wear. Make sure you wear something that's smart, that's comfortable, that you feel relaxed in, okay? Make sure that you go over your CV, you understand everything that's in it, that you've read through it, so you're not caught off guard by having to go through and look at your paperwork to say, hey, what day was that? And if they ask you what year were you at company A, B, and C, have it on top of your head. You don't want to go back and have to rethink that. Just make sure you're well prepared. Make sure you're on time. Make sure you get there 20 minutes ahead of time. If you're too early, get a cup of coffee somewhere in a coffee shop and then go up. Just make sure you're on time. Make sure you're groomed properly. Make sure everything is in place. People look at details, and people understand that if you're coming to an interview, you've gotten this far through the process, prepare yourself. Another couple tips, because I know sometimes interviews are being done over the internet now by Zoom, etc. Couple pointers there. Make sure you police your area. Make sure you move all personal items out of the way. Make sure you don't have anything that's negative in the background. Make sure your internet speed is okay. Make sure you let the people know in your home or your friends to keep the noise down. If you can, go into a room, lock the door to keep people from interrupting you. You want to make sure that that area, because you're looking into the camera and the interviewer is looking around you and they're now canvassing the room. You don't think they are, but they're looking to see what do you have in the background. So make sure you clearly understand what's being shown. Maybe some things are kind of personal you don't want anybody to see anyway. But make sure you do that. Make sure that you have the latest software on your computer downloaded. Make sure everybody in your house, again, I'll talk about internet speed, signs off so you don't have these slow response and you get kicked off and you got to get rejoined. That's just very, very negative also. Yeah, my name is Sean Carter. I have over 40 years working in the power sector in the United States and also in Asia. Spent the last 20 years in Asia, actually. I work both in middle management and executive roles. So if you have someone that needs a coach, that needs some insight, that needs some pointers, please go to my website and sign up for a free session. Why do I do this? Because I wish I had someone, a coach that would have helped me, drive me through some of the pitfalls and hurdles that you have to go through to get a job sometimes. It's not that easy anymore if you're just showing up. There's a strategy, there's things you need to do. And especially once you get the job, now you figure out, okay, I'm in, I got the job. Now I'm trying to see how I can go vertical, how I can get to the next position. There's a strategy to that also. So please make sure that if you don't have to talk to me, talk to someone, talk to a coach, talk to someone that can help you navigate yourself to that best position, to that better role, to that better salary. With that, you're going to be able to take care of your family better. You're going to be able to take care of your friends better. You can be able to be more productive in society. That's what it's all about.